All right, well, welcome to CyberTech Risk Talk. Today we are very honored to have Bob Gordon, Executive Director from CCTX, to join us. So Bob, welcome to our CyberTech Risk Talk.
Pleasure to be here, Brian.
So at the beginning, can you just quickly give us some quick introduction about who you are, what you do?
Yeah, as you mentioned, I'm the Executive Director of the Canadian Cyber Threat Exchange. We're a not-for-profit organization set up by the private sector to do two things. We share cyber threat intelligence amongst member companies, and we also act as a collaboration capability, basically bringing together cyber professionals from a range of businesses, because we've got companies from all sectors. It's not just for one sector, it's all sectors, all sizes of companies, so small, medium, and large companies.
Oh, wonderful. So you mentioned the cyber threat intelligence. So in your mind, what exactly is a cyber threat intelligence and why is that so important?
I think one of the biggest things is companies can learn from the problems or the attacks that other people are facing. Mm-hmm. So as I tell companies, I say, well, what kind of information would I give? And to me, the thing is, if you were to receive some information from someone else, that would help you either narrow down what you're hunting for already in your system, or to prevent an attack coming at you. That's what you want to get, and that's what you want to. That's what you both want to receive, and what you also want to contribute into what everyone else is doing. All companies are running, or most big companies are certainly running, a lot of detection capability, and that's all being detected. So it's what are the unusual things that you're seeing? It's like you've got this huge haystack of information coming through. Right. And what's the thing that someone can give you to narrow that down into something? Say, okay, my detection programs that I'm running are, we're going through all this data, and this is what I'm coming up with. You can apply that into that massive pile that you've also got. You're running some different software, some of the same, running some different software. You can narrow that down and say, okay, this is what I'm looking for. This is that unusual nugget that's going on in my system. So you can benefit from not only the technical capability you've got, but the technical capability of literally across the economy.
Okay, so what I hear again is like a collaboration.
Absolutely.
Right? So collaborate with your peers, your partner, the industry, or many sources.
That's right.
Okay, wonderful.
So we collaborate, and a very good point you made, we collaborate not only amongst companies, but also with the federal government. Okay. So we receive a feed of data from the federal government, from what they're seeing coming at the federal government. We receive that, and we also provide that along to our member companies. Okay. So it's the benefit of both what the private sector is doing, but also what the federal government is doing.
And when you talk about your members, are they all like a big, large organization, or are you open for some like a small? No,
it's actually it's meant for all sizes and all types of organizations. So we've got, for example, all of the major banks participate, big telecommunications companies participate, big transportation sectors, the energy sector, Hydro One, for example. But we also have dozens of small companies, companies less than 100 employees. Okay. And what we're trying to do, and we will try, we do, is how do we provide information that's useful for the big companies and what's useful for the small companies. And when we're one of the things that a lot of companies are seeing is their vulnerability is part of the supply chain. So it's no longer just being able to protect your own walls and you're safe. It's you and I as two companies, we connect together through the internet. So my security is dependent upon your security and the third parties and fourth parties and fifth parties through that process. So this is an opportunity for companies to get together with that entire supply chain of companies to sit down and work collaboratively together to basically raise the network or the relative cyber hygiene across the entire economy. So that dependency you've got on your supply chain, that they're now coming up in terms of their capability, their defensive capability, at the same time that you are.
Okay,
so it's really critical to bring along. It just can't be for the large companies. It's got to be for the small companies, and it's got to be for all types of companies. So we've got law firms, accounting companies, entertainment companies, airport authorities on board. It's literally across the entire spectrum, and we're talking with trucking companies now, building owners and managers, organizations. So law firms, literally, it goes across the entire spectrum of the economy.
Wonderful. So what I hear is you are building the, I call it a very healthy ecosystem.
That's correct.
Right? So everybody can collaborate with each other, leverage each other's expertise, knowledges, and also you don't need to reinvent the wheel.
That's
right. For things other people already built, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And also the data side.
Yeah, so it's both, and one of the things that comes with collaboration, so it's you and I and two companies sitting down and talking about best practices, sharing ideas, sharing challenges that we've got, or talking about some new technology. one of the things that happens out of that, we start to build a trust relationship. Because when you start then talking about sharing cyber threat information, things that are a little more sensitive about that, that's built on trust. So the way you build that is you build it through a dialogue on collaboration, builds that trust, then enables the ability for us to then start to share information relating to cyber threats or things that may be a little more sensitive between our companies. But we've built up this trust relationship as we go along. And so collaboration is a huge part of that. Just trying to do a threat exchange in and of itself I don't think would be particularly successful. It's got to have that collaboration piece as well.
Wonderful. And one quick question for you. What about for the competitors? For example, like in financial institute, this bank and that bank, they kind of in the business, they are competitors.
Absolutely.
But in this ecosystem, they collaborate with
Absolutely, you're very correct. One of the things that we were talking about creating what became the Canadian Cyber Threat Exchange, we had the opportunity to speak with a bunch of chief executive officers, some of the biggest companies in Canada. Every single one of them said, cybersecurity should not be a competitive issue. All companies should operate from a basic understanding of what's the threat environment they're working. We'll then compete viciously on products and services that we serve and we bring to the table. But the basic understanding of what's going on, we're not going to compete on that. We should all operate from that basic understanding. So that's the first principle. And the second principle, with this interconnected economy that we've got now, where everything's based on the internet going through, if the public consumers start to lose faith in the ability or the reliability of that system, the entire economy will suffer. So everything that all companies can be doing to keep that confidence in the overall economy, the network, the infrastructure, the internet at a good level, and continue to increase that, works to ensure that that part of the economy continues to go on. It's a critical part of what we're doing.
Sounds like the safety of the whole digital world.
Yeah, it is.
Protect the safety.
Absolutely, it is. Yeah.
Oh, well, wonderful. That's great. So, Bob, I'd like to ask you another question, probably a little bit personal question. Obviously, you're having a very successful career. So, can you share with us a little bit some like a memorable moment in your professional life? Give us a story.
Well, yeah, just one thing that was kind of interesting. So, I'm not a technology person. I've worked to use technology, but I still think that there's somebody inside my computer pulling wires and cables. It's better if I operate with that understanding. And I can remember when I went, I was transferred. I left the Canadian Security Intelligence Service after a long career with them, and I was hired by the Communication Security Establishment. I went over, became the associate chief, basically the number 2 of the organization. And one of the very first things I was asked to do was to go and speak to an international group of cryptographers. I could hardly spell cryptography, let alone understand what these really smart scientists were doing. I was really, how can I possibly go in? And so what I ended up talking to them about is the difference between the human element and the technology piece of it. And it's those two pieces working together that make it work. So just looking at the cryptography you need that, but you need the people part of it as well. And that's where my strength came. That's what I had spent my career looking at, was the people. Who are the attackers? Who's the person that's sitting behind that computer screen that's actually running that attack against you? Because it's a human being. The instrument they're using is the computer, the internet, electrons, but it's still a human being sitting behind that. And you've got to start to think about what are they doing. And that still applies today. When you're sitting and thinking about cyber attackers coming at you, you've got to start thinking, or someone's got to start thinking about, what are they coming after? How are they doing it? How are they thinking about it? How would an attacker look at my system? Don't look at the way you would do it, because you and I are sitting back. It's how would the attacker look at it? In much the same way we used to do in the past with criminals. How is a criminal going to break into your house, and how do you then defend it? The internet and our network systems is much the same thing.
So there's a saying like people are the weakest link in the cybersecurity. Really, you bring that perspective, the human side of the things.
Yeah, I don't think they're the weakest link. I think they're our first line of defense. They're a crucial element to it, because if you're not looking at the people, the technology, and the process you've got in place, you've got to be doing all three of those. And if you fail in any one of those three, the attacker, I used to say, doesn't care which one of those three doors are going to come through. You leave one of those doors open, I'm coming through it. So you've got to be doing all three. So they're a critical part of it. And they can supplement some of the things that you can do in either a technical or a policy sense, because you've got smart people sitting behind those systems thinking about it. And one of the things they need to know, for example, and this is one of the other attributes and one of the things we try to do when we talk about in the CCTX, is bring together the business unit and the technology people. The technology people, when they're looking at a corporation, it's zeros and ones, it's data. It's the business that owns it and decides what's critical within that organization.
Right.
So that when you're thinking about the policies and procedures, you've got to apply that to the business side of it. What's that critical piece of data? If you lost that piece of data, your company's at risk. Versus all they did was they got through the front door of my building and they got in the parking garage. Problem, but my corporation stays. So again, it gets back into those three things: people, technology, and process.
Wonderful. That's a complete, more like a strategy already,
yes.
Right? A cyber strategy there.
That's right.
Which you built that one for Canada, right?
Well, I was the architect for the first one,
Yeah, architect for that. Wonderful. And my last question for Bob is, you come to the Cyber Tech Risk Talk today. Do you have anything to say to our members? What do you think about this platform, or any tips or anything you want to say to our members?
No, I think from looking at, for certainly for tonight's program as an example, it's a great opportunity for people to get together, and it's a little bit of that collaboration piece. This is a way to extend your knowledge of what's going on, so you're not just looking at it from the part of the business that's critical to you, but you're taking a look at the much bigger whole.
Right.
And I see from the program tonight, that's exactly what we're doing with the event is tonight. We're looking at the issue from a broad perspective. Right. So everyone in the audience tonight is going to take back something that adds to their knowledge, puts in their quiver for adding to their defensive capability, and what can they be doing tomorrow. Hopefully picking up a few nuggets, and if nothing else, the people. It gets back to people. And you never know who you're going to have to pick the phone up and call when a crisis occurs. And a crisis is a lousy time to be exchanging business cards. Yeah, so if here's an opportunity tonight to meet a bunch of people that are the same broad business that all of us are, is defending our networks, looking at the same kinds of challenges, and how do you sit down and communicate and collaborate with them so that everybody walks out of there just a little better, being able to do the job.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Bob.
A pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you for inviting me.
Okay.